Everyone, thank you for coming to watch. I've got you guys an update on the tropics. Alright, we have a lot to talk about as Tropical Storm Beryl has formed and it's quickly intensified to a Category 1 hurricane and is currently located a few miles to the east of the Lesser Antilles. We've got a lot to talk about in this video because Beryl is a very dangerous storm that is going to continue to intensify and it will make a landfall on the Lesser Antilles. We're going to talk about all the impacts that you should expect if you are out there. We're going to talk about the rest of the tropics where we have different areas that we're still watching for some possible development. I've got all the details coming right up, right? So thank you for joining me here on this Saturday night. We have a lot to talk about in this video. We're going to go over all the tropics like I mentioned. So starting out here, just take a look at what you've got as of right now. You can see another named storm on the list. We're up to our B name. This is Tropical Storm Beryl, which formed last night. Apologize for not getting an update in for you guys last night. Just, couldn't really get the time to do it. But Beryl did form last night as we expected, and it did strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane. So at this point, you can see this Beryl has sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, which is a strengthening Category 1 hurricane. This pressure, guys, has been dropping like crazy. We're already down to a 990 millibar low here with Beryl. This is going to continue to drop. It's moving pretty swiftly. It's moving west at 22 miles per hour, so it's cruising along here in towards the Caribbean. All right. But you can see what the National Hurricane Center is saying. They're saying Beryl is forecasted to intensify quickly into a major hurricane. It's expected to bring life-threatening winds and storm surge to the Windward Islands starting tomorrow night. All right, so that's just a ton of really intense wording in your face. But yeah, I mean that's pretty aggressive from the National Hurricane Center. But that's basically what's making this storm so dangerous for our folks out there in the Lesser Antilles near the Windward Islands. We just we gotta watch out for these impacts. But we'll switch this over to the day 7 outlook or the 7-day outlook here because there's a different spots that I also want to make mention of. We'll start out here. This one that's located here in far southeastern Mexico. It's moving offshore. It's moving into the Gulf of Mexico where we have some very warm waters out here. This has been increasing with its chances of development. It's up to a 50% chance of developing. So it's still only a medium chance of developing. So basically, what we're looking at here is the National Hurricane Center saying that they really have no idea if this is going to form or not. So they're just throwing out a 50-50% chance, a 50-50 chance for this to develop. This is Invest 94L. But if this does develop, then it will bring some flooding rainfalls into Mexico, and we're gonna have to watch that. But this is another pretty serious threat to for development. But once again, there's a 50-50% chance. I keep saying 50-50%. There's a 50-50 chance that this is gonna develop, and we'll just keep watching it just in case it does. But that's just something to make mention of. Now this. I did make mention of this in my last update. This, like I expected and like I said, has increased in chances of development. This is not going to develop in the next 48 hours. It's not going to develop anytime soon. But we have a code red. All right, you can see we have a red X here. That means that there's a high chance of this developing. It's got a 70% chance. And this is like the general area that it's going to develop in, somewhere in here. It also kind of reveals the potential path for this, and you can see it does, again, include the Lesser Antilles. It literally includes Hurricane Beryl. So this is going to be really bad if this does something because it's going to be going into the same general area that's about to be slammed by Major Hurricane Beryl. So this is really dangerous as well. This has a 70% chance of developing through the next 7 days. That's a high chance. We do have a 30% chance, but I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think it's going to develop anytime soon. But definitely, later next week, I do think that we will definitely get some development out of this. And yes, there is also a real chance that we could see a named storm out of this. I think Cindy's the name. I really hope I'm not taking the C name from last year's list. But I believe so that is the C name for this year. But we'll I'll give you more on this tropical wave later. All right. So we're moving on here to the satellite loop of Hurricane Beryl. So this is what Hurricane Beryl looks like. Definitely a lot different than what it looked like when we were still calling this Invest 95L, but you can see it's popping off a lot, like robust convection here. And just in the past hour, we've seen what I would call the beginning stages of rapid intensification, where this thing is just exploding, and just the structure of the storm in general has just been amazing. How it's just been put together, and you can see we have a very well defined spin going on here. I mean, it's just everything's working with the storm. It's entering a very favorable environment. Just looking here, you can see there aren't any parts of the storm getting sheared off, but we got a nice little flow around the storm that's kind of, steering it. There's a lot of steering currents around here. But there is some wind shear that I've noticed that has kind of affected the storm on the northeastern side of things. You can almost see these like little clouds, this like band of clouds. You can see how we just go from a little bit of convection to just, nothing. That's what we call wind shear. Wind shear affects hurricanes, and Beryl is being affected by very minimal wind shear, but there is something going on at here. I don't think that's going to weaken this thing at all, because as it moves away from where it's at now, it's just going to continue to strengthen as it moves into a very, very favorable area for further development of the storm. But looking a little deeper into the storm, you can see we have some very high but very cold cloud tops, so some big time thunderstorms building. You see how this is a more well-defined spin as we get into later frames? Let me see if yellow is a good color, but let me pause it here. Let me pause this for a second. So, I'll run through this again, but you can see, you see how there's a little bit more of a well-defined spin towards the center of the storm, okay? I think what's going on is that this is trying to pop off a eye, okay? We could actually have an eye forming here, and you can almost see a tiny little red circle in there, okay? That is the beginning stages of an eye. So by the time you're watching this video, if you visited the same page I'm looking at, it probably has an eye at this point, because it's expected to develop a lot more overnight. But at the time of this video, it is beginning to pop off an eye, and it's going to form an eye wall, and the eye wall is going to be the most dangerous area of strongest winds. Okay, and that basically just means that the storm is going to continue to strengthen. But just to point that out, this is a very healthy and very strong storm that's going to be very dangerous. But as it continues to move away from this area that is producing a little bit of wind shear, it's just going to continue to strengthen and strengthen, and we're going to see this eye and eye wall become formed and much more well defined. But just to show you guys, that condensed circulation is there. It's just not showing up on satellite just yet, but I bet you guys it will be there soon. So we're going to take a look here at our cone. This is actually a different site I like to look at. This is called Zoom Earth. It's free to the public. This basically just shows you, the cone and the track of the storm, and also shows you the intensity, like the category. So starting at where we are now, this is we're on an 85 mile per hour category 1 hurricane. Okay, and then we get into tomorrow morning. By the time we wake up tomorrow morning, this is supposed to jump from an 85 to 105 mile per hour category 2 hurricane. That's a 20 mile per hour jump. That's rapid intensification right there. That's going from a Cat 1 to a Cat 2 hurricane in something like 12 hours. I don't even know what the exact time it would be for this thing to take that jump. But we're expecting a hurricane of Category 2 status with winds over 100 miles per hour for Beryl as we wake up tomorrow morning. Okay, and then we continue into tomorrow afternoon. And, the National Hurricane Center wants Beryl to strengthen even further to a 120 mile per hour Category 3 major hurricane. The infamous M. Yep, that's on the track in the cone from the National Hurricane Center. This is the same data. It's not from a different site. This is just putting that data and overlapping it with satellite and with Google Maps. That's basically what this is. But this is the same information that the National Hurricane Center has released. Yes, this is expected to become a Category 3 major hurricane by tomorrow evening, okay? So we're going to see a huge blow up in this storm, and then by tomorrow evening, this is supposed to be a full-blown Category 3 major hurricane. It's just going to have everything that you look for in a hurricane. But this makes its way towards Lesser Antilles, and it makes its way over here, but it's still strengthening. And as it moves over towards Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Grenadines, still cannot pronounce that. I don't know why, but as it makes its way over here, this strengthens even further, and it gets to 125 miles per hour. Okay, so this is at this point, this is a mid to high end Category 3 hurricane. This is a very dangerous situation for all these islands out here, the Lesser Antilles and the Windward Islands. You guys really, really need to make sure that you are paying attention to this video. Okay, but you can see we already do have hurricane warnings up. This is actually updated. The National Hurricane Center just went ahead moments before making this video, and they just issued these hurricane warnings. So Barbados, as of right now, you guys are currently under a hurricane warning from St. Lucia, or Lucia, I think it's St. Lucia, all the way down to Grenada. You guys are currently under a hurricane warning. All right, if you're in the blue shade, my guys at Trinidad and Tobago, I know I got a lot of viewers out there. If you're watching this video, you guys are currently under a tropical storm warning. As of right now, you should be out of the path of the storm, but you're still going to receive those outer bands. And the reason why you have the tropical storm warning, not the hurricane warning, is because you're not going to get the hurricane force winds and just impacts, but you're going to get tropical storm-like impacts, and that's why we have the tropical storm warning. So still a very dangerous situation for people out there in Trinidad and Tobago. But up towards near Martinique, you also have another tropical storm warning that's in the blue, and then Dominica, sorry about that, you have a tropical storm watch. So that means that this still has time to, upgrade to a tropical storm warning. I think that you guys are out of the woods for now. But if the track shifts a little bit farther north, I think that's going to bring you the potential to see a shift in the tropical storm warnings and kind of just bring these farther north, and then you guys at that point will be under a tropical storm watch. Guadalupe, you guys are good for now, and then areas down here into South America, the northern coastlines of South America, you guys are fine at the moment, but this is going to make a narrow path into the Caribbean. But unfortunately, we do have a lot of islands out here, including the Lesser Antilles, that are expected to get slammed by this hurricane. All right, and then this continues through. It kind of just breezes through the Lesser Antilles, and just because of how small the islands are, this does not affect it. We have some ridiculously warm sea surface temperatures out here, so this is going to continue as a Category 3 hurricane past the Lesser Antilles. And you can see this is still 125 mile per hour Category 3 major hurricane by Monday evening. So, another thing to look at, when is this going to make a technical landfall? If it does make a technical landfall, which is very likely, we're probably going to see that around early Monday morning. This is in Eastern time. I'm not sure what time zone you guys are in, because I know it's got to be different, but Eastern time, it's going to be around Monday at 8 a.m. We're going to wake up Monday morning to a technical landfall of Major Hurricane Beryl somewhere between Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. But, just anywhere around Monday morning, maybe, late Monday morning, maybe even early Monday morning, sometime around then, we're going to see this make a landfall. But it's going to continue through, and then we still have a Category 3 major hurricane, but back down to 120 miles per hour, which is the forecast as of now for Tuesday morning. And now we enter the cone of uncertainty. So we don't know where exactly the storm's going to go at this point. So they're still expecting Category 3 major hurricane by Tuesday night. But notice how we take a drop-off here from going from 125 miles per hour to 115. So, the National Hurricane Center, people are thinking out there that this storm is going to weaken as it moves over towards Jamaica. Remember, this is still the cone of uncertainty, so this will definitely change in the future. But as of right now, Jamaica, you are in the cone of uncertainty, and the forecast for now is that as of Wednesday, 8 p.m., that this will be just to the south of you guys, and you'll probably be, feeling some of the impacts from Hurricane Beryl, which would be a Category 2 hurricane as of the forecast for now. And then this makes it all the way over just just over towards the Yucatan Peninsula, just to the east of there, and it kind of really begins to weaken out substantially. It's back down to an 85 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane. This is going to change. The cone of uncertainty is going to change, but we have a lot more confidence in the in just the regular cone here. I know it says it's the cone of uncertainty, but this is just a just an error, just a glitch. The cone of uncertainty is really uh, somewhere out here. All right. We already know what's going to happen in here. We just, this is a question mark area. We still don't know exactly what's going to happen out there. All right. So let me clear this off your screen, and we're going to move on here to your intensity chart. We're just going to look at kind of like a spreadsheet of the models, put a lot of these models put together, and just showing us, how strong each one is showing that this storm would get. So as of right now, easily all of them bring this up to Category 1 strength. All of them bring it up to Category 2. And then we start to see a little bit of split. We see a divide at the Category 3 mark, right around here. The majority of the models take this up well into Category 3 status. And you can see, like I said earlier, mid to high-end Category 3 status is expected by the majority of these models. But notice a few of them take this up to Category 4. Now, that would be a very bad situation, obviously, but I do think it's still possible that this could change, okay? This could definitely change, and we could see more members taking this up to Category 4, or at least near Category 4. That would be more like a worst-case scenario, but we could also see a change where, the models take this back down a little bit farther to a Category 2, kind of keeping this at Cat 2, Cat 3 kind of situation. That could still happen. We just gotta watch this until it gets really tight, until there's not a big divide. There's not like a lot of different options to choose. There's just it almost looks like a straight line. That's what we want to see. All right. But as of right now, there's still a little disagreement in the models, but we're starting to get a little bit of a better sense of how strong exactly the storm is going to be based off of model guidance. So we're gonna move on here to the HWRF model. This is just the hurricane model that we use for our hurricanes and tropical storms. So starting out here, this is as of 5 p.m. today, we had a 993 millibar low, something like that, for Hurricane Beryl, and we're gonna see what happens as we get into tonight, just as a for model guidance. As we get into the middle of the night, this drops to a 986 millibar low. You could argue that this is a Category 2 hurricane. And then by the time we wake up tomorrow, you have a well-defined eye here. You have some big-time circulation. This is a 985 Category 2 hurricane, full-blown here by 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. We take this out into tomorrow afternoon, and we get into late tomorrow morning. And I mean, we just still have, a well defined eye. You can see that. You have an eye wall here with these really intense colors of reds and even some pinks in there. And you know how I talked about some shear on the northeastern side of the storm? You can actually see the models picking that up. You can see this model picking it up. Let me change my color to black. Notice how this side of the eye wall is much less intense than what this side of the eye wall is, okay? So you have a lot of let me clear this up. So you have a lot of wind shear that's still impacting this side. Okay, you have a lot of wind shear here. And so I think that, this is definitely going to weaken out the eastern side of the storm. But the problem is that this is not the side of the storm that's going to be making landfall on the Lesser Antilles. It's going to be this side of the storm, the western side of the storm. So the stronger this side of the storm gets, the worse the worse the situation we're gonna be in. But we're just gonna have to continue to watch this. But there is definitely some wind shear affecting Beryl. It's just not enough to weaken it out completely. So we take this throughout the rest of tomorrow. We get to 8 p.m. tomorrow, and the HWRF wants us to drop to a 979 millibar low, and this is getting scarily close to the Lesser Antilles. And it's just it's just becoming that situation where you get that gut feeling like, okay, this is a really dangerous monster hurricane that's about to slam the Lesser Antilles. And here you go, you get into tomorrow night into what would this be? This would be Monday morning, and here are the Lesser Antilles, and this goes right through. This is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I believe that's what this is right here. And this charges through as a 961 millibar low. This is actually St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is oh gosh, I'm not too familiar with this area. I'm okay with this area, but I can't name the islands, one by one. But it goes through the center of the islands as a 961 millibar low. Look at that well-defined eye. I mean, this is a major hurricane. This has major hurricane written all over it. And at this point, you have a shield of rain, and it's not like, oh, one side of the storm is weak enough. You can see, like I said earlier, as the storm drifts away from the area that it's in now, it's going to experience less wind shear. Therefore, the storm's going to strengthen, and you don't see any signs of of a side of the storm being affected by wind shear. I mean, this is just charging through, and it's strengthening as it moves through. So this is by 8 a.m., which will be July 1st. So this is going to be Monday morning, 8 a.m. And then this is on top of the Lesser Antilles by 11 a.m. So we're probably going to be talking about early morning, late afternoon, early morning, late morning kind of situation. But this drops to a 957. It's just gut wrenching to see this happening. But I mean, this is right over the Lesser Antilles. Like, I mean, you can't get more direct with a landfall on an island than this. Okay, this is directly over the Lesser Antilles. It's on top of you guys. 957 millibar low, monstrous Category 3 hurricane. It's strengthening, so it's still most likely a mid to high end Category 3 hurricane approaching Category 4 status. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a Category 4. I'm just saying that it's getting pretty close, or I shouldn't say pretty close, but it's getting closer to that Category 4 status by 11 a.m. on Monday morning. And this continues. It kind of pushes away from the islands, and that doesn't affect it at all. It's still cruising as a 957 millibar low, still a very strong and dangerous Category 3 major hurricane. And it drops even more. We get to a 950 millibar storm. And when you drop into the 940s, that usually means that's usually a sign that we're talking about a Category 4 hurricane. So you could say this is a borderline Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricane. So this is this is the definition of a major hurricane. This is by 2 in the morning Tuesday. So this is Monday, late Monday night into Tuesday, very early Tuesday morning. And there you go, 947 millibar low. So I hate to say it, guys, but after this moves through the Lesser Antilles, this could honestly be a full-blown Category 4 hurricane. I mean, look at this. You can't disagree with me on that. That's a 947 millibar low hurricane. Just so well-defined eye, such a well-defined eye wall. Crazy, intensification with this. It's just going to cruise right through the Lesser Antilles. But to be honest with you guys, we have no idea where this thing is going. I guess I mean, we don't have no idea, but we really don't have a great, we don't have a strong hold on how strong exactly the storm's going to get. Like, is this going to get to a Cat 4? I can't tell you. The National Hurricane Center can't tell you. The models can't even tell you themselves. I mean, I know they're not people, but you can see on the spread chart we looked at, there's a lot of different, things, the situations that the models are pointing out. In the cone of uncertainty, once the storm gets into that area, as of now, we really don't know much about what's going to happen to Major Hurricane Beryl. But this model, the HWRF, drops this to a whopping 940 millibar low, I believe. No, it's 950. My bad. But this is still a 950 millibar low, still a very high-end Category 3 hurricane, you could argue, for Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m., and this is getting really close to the Dominican Republic. I believe this is the eastern coast of Cuba, the far eastern tip of Cuba. I mean, you're getting the outer bands if you're in, I don't even know what side, but I think this might be far western side, far western coast of the Dominican Republic. Please correct me if you know what area this is, but this is still a monstrous 956. You could argue still a Category 3 hurricane. I mean, the HWRF, I've never had a problem with it, but I mean, if this were to play out, this would be a really bad situation. I mean, this could honestly be the worst case scenario for this possible storm. So either this model is in particular is just really overdoing it and really just over exaggerating the the future path of the storm, or this is just a run of the model that's showing the worst case scenario here. But this gets a little bit closer. This is not the eastern tip of Q. I apologize about that. It starts getting affected because it's part of it is starting to get sheared off a little bit. It's going to enter another area of some wind shear. It's going to start moving over some more serious areas of land. And I do think that it's going to start to weaken out, and so does the HWRF. But still, this is getting into like the heart of the Gulf of Mexico. I know we can't zoom out. I apologize about that, but we still are hanging on to a 960 millibar low, and yeah, I mean it just continues to pump and pump and pump, and it stays as a Cat 3. So this I would say is the worst case scenario. All right, this is not certainly going to happen. I don't want you guys to say that. All right, this is just one of the hurricane models that is really pushing it for the storm. It just has a lot of faith in this thing and wants this to go, really, really far as just continuous as a Category 3 or a Cat 2 hurricane. All right, so for the last part of the update, we're going to look at what's going to be happening behind this storm and just the rest of the tropics. So this is Beryl. This is going to be sliding through the Lesser Antilles, and then it's going to move out here to the Caribbean. We have to watch what's behind it. This is what has the high 70% chance of development in the next 7 days. We have to watch what the GFS wants that thing to do, because we have to know, or at least get a sense of what, how strong this upcoming storm could be. So as we get into Monday, this is Monday afternoon. This is really strengthening and it's catching up to Beryl. I mean, it's not that close, but it's getting there. But it's picking up the pace. I mean, it's down to 1,001 millibar low. This is very close to becoming a tropical storm. You could say that this is definitely a tropical depression already. So this, I believe, would be TD3, Tropical Depression 3, already by Monday afternoon, which is going to be really quick. But this quickly does kind of the same thing Beryl does. It takes more of a northern track based off the latest GFS model, but it drops down to a 997 millibar low by Tuesday morning, and we get to Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, and then overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. And this is still a 990 millibar low, so we're talking about, Category 1 hurricane. This is basically the strength of Beryl as of right now. But look at where it's going. It's going to impact the same exact area that is expected to be hit by Beryl. And it's just terrible to see this. But the GFS wants, yet again, another hurricane to just ride through the Lesser Antilles. And, that's just a really bad scenario that you're talking about. But a possible landfall timing, I guess. I mean, a really early timing for the storm to enter this area, I would say would be between Tuesday and Friday. I know it's a pretty big margin, but this is still fairly far out. This is still over 100 hours out. But we're starting to close in on the timing for this, so we just gotta watch this. But it would be, all I'm saying though is that it would be really bad if this storm would take almost the exact same path as Beryl and impact almost the exact same areas as Beryl will. But so far what the GFS showing on the 18Z run is just really not good. But this continues to move farther north and actually gets out of the Caribbean, goes up into the southern Atlantic, or I guess this would be the western Atlantic. Sorry about that. But you can see we have a pretty strong area of high pressure ridging here. That's going to keep this storm away from areas to the south. That's why the storm's going to be lifting north, because what you've got a steering current that's it's pulling this thing north, and it's going to curve it up towards the East Coast. And so this is not going to be a threat to the East Coast, because I do think this will be weak enough to, dissipate, and we'll see what the GFS does, but it brings it pretty far north, but it just gets caught up in this ridge, and it kind of just falls apart, and there might even be, maybe a trough that digs down and kind of pulls this away, but I really don't think that this is going to be any sort of a serious threat to land as far as the United States. I mean, you guys are fine. But Lesser Antilles, I mean, I apologize for saying this, but you got to get through Beryl, but you also got to keep your eyes on this one. I think this one could definitely impact you guys just days. It could be a matter of like 2, 3, 4 days just after a major hurricane slams right through you guys. You could have another hurricane that could give you some pretty serious impacts as well. All right, so that's all I got. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next video. So stay safe out there. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. We'll continue watching the forecast. We'll continue to keep you guys posted on what happens weather-wise across the United States and especially in the tropics. So if you're watching out here, or if you're watching out from the Lesser Antilles, from the Trinidad and Tobago area, just anywhere out there in the Caribbean islands, please let me know how you're doing. Make sure that you are aware of the situation. But anyways, thank you all for coming to watch, and I will see you guys next video.